Hi guys, how are y'all doing? Today I'm gonna work on a simple recipe that I use for chicken salad. I have some leftover chicken, so I'm gonna take some of the vegetables and stuff that I got last night and incorporate them into a chicken salad, guys. Show you. It's real quick, simple. It shouldn't take you more than about 10 minutes or so all together just to cut the vegetables and get them incorporated. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're gonna get started on our chicken salad recipe. I had some leftover white meat chicken. It was chicken breast. I just went ahead and did like a small dice on it. Actually about a medium to large dice on it. They're about, I don't know, 1 inch to 1/2 inch all the way around. There are some bigger pieces in there, but I'll just go ahead and break those up as I'm mixing everything together. So there's about 3.5 to 4 cups of chicken in this bowl. And I'm going to use about that much chicken for the vegetables and for the mayonnaise and sour cream that I got. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with the bell peppers. If you guys know, if you've been watching my channel from the start, I cut bell peppers a certain way. I actually start with the bottom part, face down on the cutting board, and I cut around. So I'm going to cut around all the seeds. And like I showed you guys before, when you cut all the way around, it leaves just the membrane and the seeds, and you can go ahead and just cut the top off. When you cut the top off, this green part will just kind of pop out, and you're left with just the ring of the pepper, and then you're left with the membrane and the seeds all in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish cutting these. Alright, now that I've got them all sliced into these bigger pieces, I'm going to go ahead and do slices on them, and then we're going to go ahead and do a small dice. The reason I'm going to do a small dice on them is because I want them to be noticeable in the chicken salad, but I don't want them to be too overwhelming in size to where when you're biting into it, you bite a big pepper and that kind of dominates the flavor that you have when you're eating your sandwich. So we're going to go ahead and take them, and I'm just going to do a slice across. Alright, so a small dice is about 1/2 inch on both sides, anywhere between, I don't know, so let's say 1/2 inch to like 1/4 inch, but we want to kind of keep them all at about 1/2 inch. So I'll say that right there is your small dice, big enough that it's noticeable. It's noticeable when there's a chicken salad, but not overwhelming. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all sliced up, and we're going to put them in the bowl next to our chicken salad over here. So one of the reasons I'm using red bell peppers is because, one, the visual appeal. They're really bright red. It's going to add a nice pop and color to it, especially with the overwhelming amount of green from the green bell peppers and the cilantro in there. It's going to give it that nice red pop. And they're also a tad bit sweeter than green bell peppers, so it'll add a nice complexity to the flavor. Because for me, chicken salad, I want it to be a good balance between sweet and savory, right? So the chicken and the salt and the other seasonings you're going to add in there are going to give it that savory vibe, and then with the sweet red bell peppers and the sugar that we're going to add into it, you'll get a good a balance of flavors. Alright, next we're going to cut the onion. So I'm just going to start by cutting both ends of the onion off. Not too much. You don't want to waste a lot of your product. Just enough that you get these end parts on and it gives you a flat surface to work on. So I'm going to cut just in the middle of the core at the bottom of the onion, and then pull these 2 top layers off. So the onion has natural lines on it, natural small lines all the way across. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut along those natural lines. These are going to give you like a petite dice or a very small dice when we make the onion. I do want their presence to be known in the chicken salad as far as their flavor, but I don't want anybody to bite into a big chunk of onion. I don't think that that'll be very appealing and appetizing. So we're not really worried about them showing up as much as we want their flavor there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way around the onion, along their natural lines on both of these, and then we'll dice them from there. Okay, so now that we've got them cut along the natural lines, we're gonna go ahead and just do a few slits along the horizontal part of it, or like horizontally along the onion. The reason for that is when we do the slits across it, it kind of opens up the onion itself, and so when you go to dice, you get a nice separation of the cuts that you made, and it kind of just breaks up nicely into the small dices. All right, so now you've got the whole like chunk of cilantro. What I like to do is I'll take paper towels and just dry the heck out of it as much as I can, get as much water out of it, just kind of press on it a little bit. You don't want to crush it too much, but enough to really get some of that moisture out. It's going to be a lot easier to work with when it is dry and you don't have a lot of liquid coming out of it. So just kind of separate it, and like I said, just dry it as much as you possibly can. You don't want to sit here and take too much time on it, because overall we're trying to make this chicken salad relatively quickly and not take too much of our time up. So now that I've got most of it dry, what I like to do is just right here where the stock is being held together, I'll just cut that end part off. I'll go ahead and get rid of that, because mostly I want the leaves. Granted, you can use the stems. They're not inedible or unpalatable, but I don't want a majority of that to be. I want it to be the leaves. So now that we've got the bunch together, what I like to do is go ahead and really just push it all together as much as I can, because we're going to go ahead and try and get much of it cut on the first round. So now that I've got it really bunched together, I'm going to take the knife and just kind of cut really fine cuts all the way down the line here. And as I'm going, just making sure I'm moving my fingers. Alright, so now that we've got it cut up, for the most part, because you bunched it together, it's already cut enough. Now you can go ahead and some of these bigger parts at the end, just kind of go over it again, get as much as you can so that there's not too big of chunks. You can kind of just keep putting it back in and going over it. But overall, you shouldn't have to you shouldn't have to really keep chopping it. For the fact that you bunched it up and cut it that way, and you cut it fine the first time around, you're not wasting too much time on it. So I'm going to go ahead and just set that aside and leave that there. We're going to end up using it later. Alright, so we're actually going to do something a little different, probably something different than what you're used to. Something I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cook the vegetables just a little bit, enough to get the sulfuric acid out of the onions so that they're not overwhelming, and also to make the bell peppers a little bit more palatable. Right, so when they're cooked, just enough to get some heat into it, get some of the fibers broke down, and really start to bring out the flavors. I'll show you how we're going to use it after they've been heated and cooked for a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just heating up the pan. I'm going to put it on medium to high heat, add a little bit of vegetable oil into it, and we're going to add the vegetables into it and really give them a nice little fry. Alright, now that the pan's hot, we're going to go ahead and add the vegetables in. And we're just going to let those pan fry for a little bit. I would say roughly about anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes, once you start noticing that the smell of the onions is gone and that you've gotten a little bit of tenderness to the vegetables. So I'm just going to go ahead and let those sit, and we'll let those cook for about, like I said, about 3 to 5 minutes. Alright, so while the vegetables were cooking, I went ahead and set up what I like to refer to, or what it's referred to as, just a small ice bath. I took some ice, put it in a bowl, made sure I found a strainer that actually fits into the bowl. I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with some water. Let the ice kind of incorporate into the water and get it really chilled down. The reason for this is we're going to take the vegetables, one, we're going to stop the cooking, and then we're going to go ahead and chill them down enough so that they can be used in the chicken salad. Two things that this really does to it is it does stop the cooking, but it also tightens up the fibers in the vegetables a little bit, right? We did loosen them up with cooking them and made them more palatable, but it's also going to give that crispiness kind of back to the vegetables that we wanted in the first place. We don't want them to be too soft to where they can't be, they kind of feel like they're in a stew or something like that, but we want them to have a little bit of crunch onto them as well. So I'm just going to take the vegetables and add them into our ice bath. We really don't want them to overcook, and if you just left them on heat, or let's say put them into the refrigerator for later, they would end up still cooking while they were in the refrigerator, and we wouldn't want them to overcook. So I'll just get them going here in our ice bath to really get them to cool down. All right, now that we've got them all cooled down, they're down to a nice, actually like rather cool temperature. We're gonna go ahead and just set them aside while we work on the dressing part of the chicken salad. So now we're gonna work on the dressing part of the chicken salad. We're gonna work with the chicken that I had from earlier, and we're gonna go ahead and add in sour cream and mayo into the chicken salads. Okay, so I would say personally, I don't like the chicken salad to be too like soupy. I want it to be just the right amount of consistency where you still see the chunks of chicken, the vegetables and stuff like that, and it's not overwhelmed by the dressing. So for me, a good ratio to that is always 4 to 1. So 4 parts chicken, 1 part dressing. So since we have about 4 cups of chicken here, four full cups of chicken, I'm gonna go ahead and add about a cup of dressing between the mayo and the sour cream. Now, I want more mayo than sour cream. So since I need a cup of dressing, I'm gonna do 2 parts mayo and 1 part sour cream, right? So I've got a measuring cup for a cup here. I'm gonna kind of eyeball it. If you didn't want to do that, you can use third cups, and so you would just put 2 third cups mayo and 1 third cup sour cream. But since I'm gonna go ahead and eyeball it, I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of fill the cup here with the amount and kind of make sure that I've got exactly what I'm looking for. So right now I've got about a third cup of sour cream. I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of it mayonnaise and kind of fill that cup up just to make sure that we've got the right amount. So now that I've got the right amount in here, I'll go ahead and add that into our chicken, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix this first to make sure that we've got the right ratio. So I'll go ahead and mix it up and really get it all incorporated. As you're mixing this into the chicken, for you, it might look like it actually has too much dressing, but remember, we're also gonna add vegetables into it, and those vegetables are gonna take up some of the spot of the dressing too as well. So one thing I'm gonna go ahead and do before I even add the vegetables and the cilantro in is I'm gonna go ahead and add my seasonings in. So I'm gonna add a teaspoon of pepper. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm also gonna add a teaspoon of paprika. Now the reason for the paprika is to add a little bit of heat to it, and also a little bit of a deep, rich color to it that you'll get when you notice that the paprika is mixed into it. To kind of balance out the fact that it's mayo and sour cream in there, I'm going to add a teaspoon of lemon juice. You can use fresh lemons, you can use pre-squeezed lemon juice, you can use even limes, and you would add the same amount regardless. So I'll add that in there, and you'll notice that the acid in that kind of balances everything out and really gives it a nice mouthfeel. So I'll go ahead and get that stirred into there. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and add the vegetables in there. So I'll add the bell peppers, the onions, and we'll go ahead and also add the cilantro into it as well. I know that I cut the whole bunch, but now that I'm looking at this chicken salad and the amount of vegetables that are in it, it's quite a bit, which is okay. I personally like it with a lot of vegetables. You can also cut them down if you don't want that much, or if you want to just add more chicken into the amount that you've already cut. But I like it with a decent amount of vegetables in there, which is why I made sure that I had some in there. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna add about half of this cilantro in there. I will save the other part for later. I'm sure I can use it on something else. All right, now that we got the chicken salad made, I'm gonna show you guys how I assemble a sandwich for the chicken salad. So I like lettuce, tomato, and cheese on mine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly slice some small slices of tomato. I kind of take the end off first. You can core it, right? You can actually take the core out of the tomato if you have like a small paring knife. You can take and cut around it, cut the core out, and you can cut your slices that way, especially if you're trying to get a lot of them. I like to thinly slice the tomatoes. So I would say about 1/4 of an inch to about 1/8 of an inch is the slices that I like for my sandwich. You need a really sharp knife to make sure that you can get something like that. I wouldn't try it unless you actually have something that's really sharp. So they're just small slices, nothing too crazy. I'll go ahead and add that in. And then as far as the lettuce goes, I actually don't really cut into the lettuce because I'm gonna save the full part. I'll take this kind of wilted like top part off, and then I'll take like a whole leaf out of it. And I like some whole leaf lettuce on my sandwich. So basically I'll just take the bread, nothing crazy, right? And I'll put some salad on there, right? So we'll go ahead and not overwhelm the bread. I don't really like, I mean, I love chicken salad, but nothing too crazy on there. Just enough to kind of cover the one slice of bread. And I am going to next put the cheese on it. Now what you can do is you can actually like toast the bread or heat it up if you'd like, and kind of heat up the cheese on there so that it's melted. I don't really like that. So I'll go ahead and put the cheese right onto the chicken salad part, and then I'm gonna put the tomatoes on there and the lettuce. Just kind of cap it over, and then I'll cut diagonally across the sandwich. And that's a pretty quick and easy meal. You can make the chicken salad, take it with you to lunch. You can take crackers, or you can eat the salad just by itself. You can take bread to make the sandwich there while you're at work, or just for a quick snack or a quick meal for dinner or lunch. Really, there's kind of a lot of different you can incorporate chicken salad into the meal. Doesn't always have to be on a sandwich, like I said. Overall, I think it turned out really good. We got a nice looking sandwich, and I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy it. So we went ahead and made chicken salad. I chose to put it onto a sandwich. Now, for chicken salad, I had a lot of time in my previous job. One of the main things that I demoed was chicken salad, because one of the main products that I made in the manufacturing plant was roasted chicken, already pre-shredded, and we were trying to sell it to a lot of big box retailers like your H-E-B's, your Walmarts, your Costco's, and we would demo a lot of things that they could use for it to make for ready-to-eat meals. One of the main things was chicken salad. So I actually ended up making a lot of different kinds of chicken salads. And so the base that I use, the dressing, I'll use it on every base no matter what I put in the chicken salad. Overall, it's got a nice like balanced flavor to it. It's got a little bit of spiciness to it, lingering spiciness from the paprika, and the good balance of pepper, salt, and sugar, and lemon juice kind of really just flatten it out and give you an overall boost to whatever you put in it. I've done things like peanuts, lime, and a little bit of like jalapeno in there. I've done things like walnuts and cranberries. I've done almonds, grapes. I always put just kind of what's in season or what I'm really looking for, depending on the audience or depending on what you like at home. You don't have to necessarily go with the vegetables I went with. I just went with those because that's kind of like my favorite version that I came up with. It really kind of sent it home as far as like, this is Texas, and this is kind of like my take on Texas chicken salad. Now, I know that a lot of people also put mustard in their chicken salad. You can put mustard in there. I personally don't like it, but if you wanted to add mustard, I would add about a tablespoon of mustard into the dressing that I already have. I have done that before, depending on the kind of application that I put in there. Today, I didn't, just because I didn't want that flavor in there. But if you would like, and for an alternate way of making it, you can add about a tablespoon of mustard and it'll give it a nice flavor too as well. Guys, I really appreciate you guys checking out my recipe. Again, if you really like the video, please like it at the bottom. Also, if you want to see more recipes, please hit the subscribe button. Now remember, most of my recipes had the shopping with it. I'm gonna go ahead and add the link for the shopping for this. I went shopping with my son and I shopped for 2 recipes. So I went ahead and put that video on separate, but there'll be a link on this page too if you'd like to see the shopping for it as well. Guys, thank you again. You have a great day.